Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here.
Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel, Fantasy Lorenzo.
Wait, what did you say?
Fantasy Lorenzo.
Have a good one.
You guys better subscribe and watch my friend on his YouTube channel. He is kicking ass.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another review. This time we're going to be talking about the Season 9 premiere of The Walking Dead on AMC, which was called A New Beginning. So yeah, The Walking Dead is back, and I know we're all anticipating that supposed fifth episode or somewhere around there, you know, with these being Rick's or Andrew Lincoln's final episodes, so we're all kind of walking on eggshells watching this. We're all pretty eager to see what they're going to do, how they're going to handle it. And it almost makes any scene with Rick more sentimental, which is very, very true. But, you know, we still have like a handful of weeks before we get to that point directly. So how is this on its own, you know, trying to put those feelings aside, maybe? Although they are promoting it as Rick's final episode, so, you know, I think we're allowed to sort of start feeling that way already. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this premiere. I'm happy the show is back. And not just because it's Rick's final episodes, I remember watching a trailer and thinking, okay, yeah, the season actually looks really good. And I'm not one of those that really disliked Season 8 or Season 7 for that matter. I liked them both. And definitely not the height of The Walking Dead, but they were they weren't my least favorite seasons either. Walking Dead's still one of my favorite shows of all time. Probably my top two, honestly. I'll do a video on that someday. But yeah, so this premiere, I was really looking forward to it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. Of course, there's a few month time skip, I believe. I forget exactly how long it's supposed to be. But we see, you know, Maggie's had a baby, you know, finally, you know, little Herschel. And, you know, people still complain about that too much, saying, oh, she's been pregnant for, you know, 2 years now, or whatever. It's like people don't actually pay attention to the show. Because it's pretty clear that a lot of this was, you know, a lot of like Season 7 and even Season 8 were happening in the span of like a few weeks or like a month or something like that. So I think that makes sense. They're just putting things together more closely. But now there's a time skip, and, you know, it's sort of jumped ahead and everything. So yeah, we see little Herschel and everything, and we'll talk about the Gregory thing in a minute. But because of the time skip, we also see just how much Alexandria is flourishing, how much the communities are tied together now. You know, under Rick's, I shouldn't say under Rick's rule. Although there seems to be a lot of people who are actually really grateful for him and see him as sort of like this icon in a way, you know. Bless you, Rick Grimes, like you see in the premiere, you know, when he brings, you know, some, you know, seeds to the sanctuary and everything, and Daryl's having trouble at the sanctuary because there still seems to be people who miss Negan's sort of, you know, thumb on things. Now it's a question whether it's just because they're getting desperate for more food, or if it's because they actually miss the way Negan did things and the man himself. I think it's probably a combination of both. And Daryl's been holding it up, you know, he's you know, pretty good at keeping things in line, but not the way Negan did, obviously. Zach McGowan is on the show now, so that's nice to see. It seems like he'll sort of have like a sort of mini possible antagonist kind of role this season. But, he's been on things like, he was great on Black Sails, he was on The 100 for a couple seasons, so he's a really good fit. Also on Shameless, but very different character on that. And, of course, the Sanctuary, it's a factory, so it is hard to grow, like crops and stuff there, compared to Alexandria, and the Hilltop, so they're facing issues there. But really, things seem to be good right now. The intro has also changed. I think it's pretty cool with the graphics and everything, a real example of where the story's at now and how far it's come. Even the logo, of course, it's finally stopped decaying, as it's done like little by little over the seasons. And, it's, growing green, so I like that as well. Rick and Michonne's relationship and their dynamic is as nice, cute, and touching as ever. They probably had some of the sweeter scenes in the episode. With Michonne sort of teasing him about the famous Rick Grimes. While they're in bed and everything. It's nice. And again, it kind of makes him even more sort of sentimental and worried because you're seeing scenes like this, and Rick only has a few episodes left. Of course, Judith has grown a little bit. And, Maggie, she's become a fairly, stable leader. People still look to her. Of course, Gregory is still there, Xander Berkeley. And, we have the whole little mini subplot in this episode of a guy named Ken, or a kid named Ken. He's probably not supposed to be too much older than me. He goes on a run with them to DC. We actually see him, in that city a little bit, which is kind of cool. I agree with some reviews saying I wish they would have spent more time there. It's a kind of a cool location, but they can probably only stay there for so long and everything. But yeah, they try to get this wagon down. The glass ends up breaking and stuff like that. So a little bit of tension in that scene, but you really don't have to worry about anyone in the first episode usually. But then as they're trying to get the wagon back onto the road and everything, of course walkers show up, and Ken goes back to free a horse. Luckily he got the horse free, so I was happy about that. But then he is of course bitten, and he does die. So then the parents, especially the mother, seem to hold a lot of resentment against Maggie for him being out there with her in the first place. And I feel like that was kind of forced. I'm glad they didn't drag that sort of just that issue out for like half a season or something like that, which, I admit the show has done things like that before. And this Gregory thing, I think we've had enough of Gregory sort of going behind Maggie's back and stuff like that, and that's kind of resolved in this episode. At least the main part of it. Clearly I'd understand the parents' grief and everything. Saying he is, more of like a farmer type, tending to the horses and stuff like that. But really, we probably just didn't see it, but I'm sure Ken or whatever, he probably volunteered to go with them, And I'm sure Maggie or Rick gave him a look, you sure you up for it? And I'm sure he, again, pretty much volunteered himself, so the mother is especially kind of annoying in this episode, but you gotta kind of understand her as well, I guess. And the father is, pushed into sort of working with, Gregory here because he feels like less of a man because of the wife and everything, as she, tried to shove in his head. And Gregory, he's trying to play, neutral, but of course, he's going behind both sides' backs pretty much, being very nice to Margaret, but also making plans and talking with the parents. So he actually sets it up for Maggie to be killed, saying someone looks like a defaced Glenn's grave or something like that. Then it's the father in like a hood, trying to kill her at night, and that doesn't really work. So Maggie, of course, right away knows it was Gregory, and she confronts him. They have a little scuffle. Maggie holds him with a knife to his throat. And I think this decision of Maggie's was probably justified. I understand Michonne getting panicked when the kids, of course, happen to wander out and see it as Gregory is hung. But I think it was a long time coming. I mean, Xander Berkeley was great on the show. Great at playing the kind of character he was. But yeah, Gregory's had too many chances, and it was about time. Maggie's really struggling with herself, though, you can tell. But like she said, this isn't the start of something. This is something that, had to be done. And yeah, I think punishment fits the crime. I think that is kind of true here. Of course, he actually organized an attempt on her life, so what's going to happen? So I think that was fair, but we'll see if Maggie actually descends further somehow. I don't know. No, as far as we know, Lauren Cohen's just leaving the show. She's not necessarily being killed off. So we'll see how our arc actually plays out. Maybe she needs some time away, and she sort of goes off on her own on a big trip or something. I don't know, which doesn't fully make sense. But we'll see how they do it. There's also the point from the season 8 finale, like it was Maggie, Daryl, and Jesus organizing, saying they're gonna let things rest for a while before they make a move on Rick, and try to do something with Negan anyway. That seems to have calmed down a bit. I think they realized the audience didn't really like that angle, and maybe it didn't make as much sense as they were hoping. So I don't think anything's really going to happen over that anymore. I think it's just some sort of buried resentment, or sort of buried frustration, which I think is a little more realistic and understandable. And it kind of comes through in Rick and Maggie's conversation towards the end of the episode, which I thought was pretty good. Pretty good back and forth with Rick holding Herschel, and them trying. It's funny to say Rick holding Herschel. But yeah, well, also Scott Wilson. I'm sure you guys have heard, though, he passed away recently. Battled with leukemia at the age of 76. I made quite a few posts about it on my Facebook, but I wanted to say something in this review anyway. The man seemed to be a really, really kind soul. I go to conventions, but I unfortunately never had the chance to meet him as of yet. So that's a kick, but really I feel worse for the people that actually knew him and they lost him, because I heard nothing but really, really warm things said about him. And of course he did an extraordinary job as Herschel on The Walking Dead. Probably one of the best performances of the whole series. So yeah, but yeah, I really liked Rick and Maggie's conversation anyway. So yeah. Overall, I like this premiere. Like I said, I'm giving it about 9.1, 9.2 out of 10. I think it's off to a pretty good start this season. I have pretty high hopes for it. We'll see how it goes. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.